I'm reading Edward Gibbon, the great 18th century historian and writer. It's not only the facts that he gives us, but his narrative explanation of the history is a masterpiece of language. The language that has been written is beautifully composed. Uh, he began the writing in 1776, and in 1788 he finished it. In almost of 12 years, an extensive work. He was a rationalist. He had later developed issues with the church, but whatever he says and whatever he explains through his prism of mind, so that's marvelous. It's just a passage that I want to read to you. While I was reading it, it immensely appealed to me after two chapters of uh, giving us an account of the splendor of the Rome. He tells us the reasons of the beginning of the decline and the decay of the empire, that where it started. It was scarcely that the eyes of the contemporary should discover in the public felicity the latent causes of decay and corruption. This long peace and the uniform government of the Romans introduced a slow and secret poison into the vitals of the empire. The minds of men were gradually reduced to the same level, the fire of genius was extinguished, and even the military spirit evaporated. The natives of Europe were brave and robust. Spain, Gaul, Britain, Elysium supplied the legions with excellent soldiers and constituted the real strength of the monarchy. Their personal valor remained, but they no longer possessed that public courage which is nourished by the love of independence, the sense of national honor, the presence of danger, and the habit of command. They received laws and governors from the will of their sovereign and trusted for their defense to a mercenary army. They entrusted their defense to a mercenary army. The posterity of their boldest leaders was contented with the rank of citizen and subjects. Uh, the most aspiring spirits resorted to the court or standard of the emperor, and the deserted provinces, deprived of political strength or union, insensibly sunk into the languid indifference of private life. The love of letters, here he comes on that subject, almost inseparable from peace and refinement, was fashionable among the subjects of Hadrian and the Antonines, who were themselves men of learning and curiosity. It was diffused over the whole extent of their empire. The most northern tribes of Britain had acquired a taste for rhetoric. Homer as well as Virgil were transcribed and studied on the banks of the Rhine and Danube, and the most liberal reward sought out of faintest glimmers of literary merit. The science of physics and astronomy were successfully cultivated by the Greeks. The observations of Ptolemy and the writings of the Galen are studied by those who have improved their discoveries and corrected their errors. But if we accept the inimitable Lucian, this age of indolence passed away without having produced a single writer of original genius, or who excelled in the arts of elegant composition. Here he laments that this whole age, without mentioning only one writer, Lucian, that the whole uh, mm, era and the whole age was without any uh, excellence in arts and elegant composition. The authority of Plato and Aristotle, of Zeno and Epicurus, still reigned in the schools of disciples to another, precluded every generous attempt to exercise the powers or enlarge the limits of the human mind. The beauties of the poets and orators, instead of kindling a fire like their own, inspired only cold and survival imitations, or if any ventured to deviate from those models, they deviated at the same time from good sense and propriety. On the revival of letters, the youthful vigor of imagination after long repose, national emulation, a new religion, new language, and a new world called forth the genius of the Europe, but the provincials of the Rome, trained by a uniform artificial foreign education, were engaged in a very unequal competition with those bold ancients who, by expressing their genuine feelings in their native tongue, had already occupied every place of honor. The name of the poet was almost forgotten. The name of the poet was almost forgotten. That of orator was usurped by the sophists, a cloud of critics, of compilers, of commentators darkened the face of learning, and the decline of genius was soon followed by the corruption of taste. Here he gives us the reasons, the beginning, the decay in thought. Uh, mm, the sophists were those philosophers, they called themselves as philosophers, who would just debate. They were not genuine philosophers who would just win the debate. And he gives some citation of some sophists who had been paid by some to write books. So he says that the sophists usurped the domain of the philosopher. So there was no real philosophy, there were no poets, there was no rekindling of fire. And here we first time see, after reading him, uh, telling us much about the virtues of the Roman Empire and the Roman life, that where from the decay began. And later on, we shall see that how he unfolds the facts and give us his account of this degeneration. Thank you.